Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Kylie and today I am going to be sharing with you my top 10 horror scores. I thought of this video idea a couple of weeks ago, and then I think last week Spooky Astronauts made a video about her top 10 and I was like, dang, I didn't do it first. But no matter, my list is really different from hers, so I can't wait to share it with you guys. I originally thought to make this list because I think that music is such an important thing, not just in life to listen to music, but in movies. It can really make or break it sometimes. So if you have an amazing soundtrack, it just makes your horror movie that much more incredible. The theme song obviously is very important, and there are a lot that are very iconic, and some of those are on my list, but there are also some that I think might surprise you. So definitely stick around and see if any of these match your top 10 or if any of these are some of your favorites. And if they are, comment down below and tell me about it. But let's get started. So I'm going to start with number 10 and work my way up to number 1. And my number 10 is the theme song of Stranger Things, written and composed by Kyle Dixon. I think that I am just too in love with 80s films, fashion, and culture to tell you that I'm not biased about loving this particular soundtrack. It's pretty relaxing with a good and consistent beat, and it holds nostalgia from a time that I wish I could have lived in. This particular music doesn't frighten me, and there are debates as to whether or not Stranger Things is actually horror, but I just love this theme song so much that I had to put it on my list. There are certainly scary moments in Stranger Things. I wouldn't necessarily call it a horror show, but it definitely has some horror elements to it. But I promise you that the rest of the scores on this list are totally horror. There is no debate about it. This one was just good enough to be on my list regardless of whether or not it is real horror. Number 9 on this list is the theme song from The Ring, written and composed by Howard Leslie Shore. This is composed on the piano, and the piano is one of my favorite instruments. I used to play when I was young. And this theme is just so sad and so haunting, but it's beautiful at the same time. And I think that it perfectly mirrors the story that's being told because it's about this young child that died. I also might be a little bit biased about this one because this is my favorite horror movie of all time. So I'm kind of surprised that it's not higher up on my list, but you'll see why because the other ones are just... But I believe that this is almost a perfect movie. The acting, the writing, the cinematography and coloring especially, and the music, they all just kind of come together and make this perfect little bow on this amazing gift of entertainment. I also think that a lot of horror theme songs can definitely be scary and anxiety inducing, but not all of them are quite so haunting as this one. Speaking of haunting and beautiful though, I am gonna move on to my number 8, and it is the title song from Hannibal, the TV show. This was composed by Brian Ritzel, I'm not sure. If not anything else, this theme song is very hypnotic. And a lot of the times it doesn't quite feel like music, it kind of just feels like ambient noise, and a lot of the time it is. But on the one hand, you also have these scenes where Hannibal is preparing these beautiful looking dishes, but they're made out of human organs. And then the score in the background is some very lovely, beautiful piano music. But then when more overtly disturbing things happen, it's more of this weird ambient noise, and it's very, very effective for me. It's hard to explain, but it almost has equal weight in how beautiful it is and how much it feels like sandpaper is scraping your eardrum. By the way, my dad and I have been binging this TV show for about 2 weeks straight because it just got released to Netflix, and we love it so much. So that's why there have been less movie reviews lately, and I'm sorry about that, but I will be making a video completely dedicated to talking about that TV show because it's amazing and there's so much to talk about with it. And now that it's on Netflix, I feel like a lot of people are watching it, and if you're a horror fan, I highly, highly recommend that you watch it because in the next week or two, hopefully, I will be coming out with a video about that show. You know, talking about the plot, the themes, the cinematography, the creativity, the art. It's one of my favorite things that I've ever seen, and it's honestly some of the best horror TV I think that's come out in the last 10 years. So keep an eye out for that. I love this soundtrack so much because I also love the show so much, but just together they work very well. So subscribe and keep an eye out for that if you are a fanable. Number 7 on this list is the theme song of American Horror Story. This was composed by Charlie Clouser. I remember several years ago watching American Horror Story for the first time and being so disturbed by the title sequence. And of course that was due to the very weird visuals, but mainly because of the music. Just that really weird Now we're kind of starting to get into the territory of the theme songs that are not appealing to my ear, but are very effective in making me feel anxious and weird. I do, however, love the changes that they made to the 1984 season title sequence, because they made it a lot more upbeat and a little bit more 80s themed, so that one actually sounds very nice to my ears. But they change it up a little bit every season because obviously the title card changes, and I think it's really cool because it gives the composer kind of a challenge, a creative challenge, to see how they can incorporate the theme of this season into the new version of the title theme song. So every year when a new season comes out, I'm excited, especially to see the title card, because I want to know how the theme song is going to change, because I've been a fan of it since the very first season. I also just love that they're willing to take the time and spend the funds to spend that much attention to detail, even on just the title card. Moving along, number 6 on this list has another huge dollop of nostalgia for me because it is the theme song of the Goosebumps TV show. This was written and composed by Jack Lenz. This just really reminds me of Halloween time and all the light, spooky content that I used to enjoy so much as a kid. Some of the other scores I've talked about and will talk about are kind of just weird noises. This one is definitely more musical, and if I were to have a haunted house intended for children or something around Halloween time, this is absolutely the soundtrack that I would play. It's just a lighthearted score that simultaneously reminds you of spooky time and Halloween, but also makes you happy because it's kind of cute. There's also weirdly a dog bark noise thrown in there. Very weird, unique, I like it. Alright, moving right along into my top 5, and my number 5 is Insidious. This was written and composed by Joseph Bishara. This is another example of a score not sounding like music because it doesn't have to. And a couple of fun facts, Joseph Bishara actually appeared in the movie as a demon. And another one, this one was composed with a piano and a quartet, and most of it was improvised. You can kind of tell because when there is a jump scare, there's usually just like a loud bang on a piano or a very loud violin squeak. And they're usually just very abrupt and chaotic, so you can kind of tell that it's improvised. I didn't know that before, but now I can definitely see it. So unlike the Goosebumps theme that I can listen to and play at a Halloween party and stuff, this theme song is very disturbing, not super kind on my ears. It makes me very anxious. I mean, well, it does sound good to my ears in some parts. I really, really love the opening credits of this movie. They're so beautiful and haunting, what with the black and white shots of the house and then the names in red. I love that. But yeah, this theme song really makes my skin crawl, and that's why it's in my top 5. Number 4 on this list is an ultimate classic. It is the Psycho score, which is written and composed by Bernard Herrmann. We're getting into some more iconic films at the top of this list here. If you saw the Hitchcock video with my dad, then you would know the fun fact that when Alfred Hitchcock heard this score, he doubled Bernard Herrmann's salary on the spot, claiming that 33% of the effectiveness of Psycho was due to its music, and I think I would agree. Psycho was very much ahead of its time in terms of horror elements and the themes that they brought up, and that theme music also inspired other composers such as John Carpenter. Psycho at this point is certainly not one of a kind, but it is the first of its kind, I think you could argue. This was a very influential movie, and I believe that it was due largely in part because of the score, because it added so much to this movie. Number 3 on this list, I will give you a guess. It's composed by John Williams, and it goes a little something like this. Jaws, of course. This theme music is simply just iconic. I think I love this one so much simply because of its simplicity. Because with just 2 notes, you can condition your audience to be afraid whenever they hear it. I also believe that it mimics the onset of anxiety, because anxiety starts off kind of slow, like if you're having an anxiety attack and your heart starts beating a little faster, like and it gradually gets faster and faster until the point where you're full-fledged panic mode. So as the notes get faster, your heartbeat gets faster, and then you're gripping the edge of your seat more and more because you know the shark is about to do something. I don't know that many other theme songs have quite conditioned their audience in such a way that Jaws has. Certainly there are other themes that are meant to induce anxiety and are affecting in doing so, but I think that the Jaws theme song is very unique in the way that it mimics the anxious feelings and kind of forces it to happen. Alright, moving along, for my number 2 spot on this list, there are actually 2 from the same movie, and that is Us. The score of this movie was written and composed by Michael Abels. First, I want to talk about the Us anthem, and then I want to talk about the I Got 5 on It remix. The little children chanting. That's enough to do it for me. That induces so much anxiety to me and creeps me out so much. A lot of these other themes I liked because they were just very appealing to my ear. This one genuinely gives me chills. I think it's because children singing should ideally be one of the most happy things ever, just listening to the voices of children singing. But in this context, they're just chanting nonsense because they're trying to scare you. Oh, and fun fact, Jordan Peele got inspiration for the score of this movie based on Nightmare on Elm Street. I'll link that article down below. It talks about the score in a lot more detail. But now let's talk about the I Got 5 on It remix. It's so intense, and I think it's perfect for a trippy and scary climax to this horror movie. I don't have a ton to say about it because I feel like it really speaks for itself. It's very intense, and it's hard not to feel the effects of it. Okay, number 1 on this list. Are you ready? Yes, the Halloween theme song. So, Halloween was John Carpenter's 3rd feature film and his first horror movie. He wrote the script, directed the movie, and made the theme music. Like I said, he was inspired by Bernard Herrmann and his ability to create an imposing, powerful score with limited orchestral means. Meaning using the basic sounds of any particular instrument, in this case the piano. I love the simplicity of this theme very much in the same way that I love the theme of Jaws. Some of the other scores I talked about were very complicated and strange and maybe didn't totally feel like music to me. This one definitely does, and it is very pleasing on my ear. That being said, because I enjoy the sound of it and I enjoy this song, it doesn't really frighten me, but it does still signal to me obviously when something bad is gonna happen, and so for that reason, you know, it's a good horror theme song. I might have ranked these a little bit weirdly. Maybe I should have gone from least effective to most effective in terms of anxiety and scariness of the music, but then I'd just be lying if I said that this wasn't my favorite simply because it's not as effective in scaring me. Halloween is one of my favorite horror movies from the 70s, and I'm actually planning on doing a review of Halloween coming out pretty soon. It might not be next week, but I already did all my research and took all my notes, so I will be filming that very soon, and so hopefully that will be out in the next 2 weeks. I don't have a ton to say about the Halloween theme, I think because it speaks for itself and because it's become so iconic over the years. I also think that the remastered version in the new Halloween movie from 2018 was beautifully done, and I love that one as well. Feel free to let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my top 10, and of course feel free to put your top 10 in the comments down below. I hope you found this interesting, and let me know if you have any other sort of top 10 lists that you'd like me to do. I do have plans in the future to do my top 10 Alien movies. I'm really excited about that one, so let me know if there are any other lists you would like to see from me. I post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 o'clock p.m, so definitely subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be notified anytime that I post. I also have a vlog channel, and I post over there at least once a week of all my travels and things like that, so subscribe over there if you're interested. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and then I catch you in the next one. Bye!